Welcome to the Improve Work podcast. I'm your host, Daniela Tancou, an HR consultant helping entrepreneurs and team leaders build motivated, high-performing teams. Here we talk about leadership, employee motivation, and other topics that enhance your ability to lead. Whether you are an entrepreneur with a team, a business owner planning to build one, or a leader in a company. You'll gain practical advice and insights from me and my guests, experts in the field and entrepreneurs who share the leadership experiences. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to stay updated on every episode. Let's dive into today's topic. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Improve Work podcast. Thank you for being here. It means a lot to me because this helps us continue providing useful conversations for everyone who wants to develop their team leadership skills. My goal is to bring you practical knowledge and solutions to different challenges. That's why we don't stay at the surface in these conversations, we go deep. And if you enjoy the podcast, please follow us to help us grow. Episodes are available in video format on Spotify and in audio format on other podcast platforms. You can also watch the video versions of the episodes on my website on the podcast page, improvework.ro/podcast. You'll find a link in the show notes as well. Okay. Today's guest is Sacha Thompson. We'll discuss how team leaders can improve their relationships with their team members. We'll talk about the skills they need to have, how they can deal and approach their own emotions and those of their team members, about trust, and much more. Sacha is the founder of Equity Equation. She helps organizations build inclusive psychological safety and healthier workplace cultures. She has been featured in prestigious publications like Forbes, Newsweek, and Business Insider. She's also the host of DEA After 5, a podcast that discusses diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's dive in and listen to this conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Sacha. I'm happy you are here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. I think we'll have a good conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll discuss about how team leaders can develop their skills to build relationships with their team members. And this is an important topic because the ability to form relationship, it's a necessary one for every team leader.
Yeah, absolutely. It's critical.
And besides other abilities and skills, of course, but we'll focus on this one today.
Sounds good.
And I'll start with a question that refers to the emotional climate of a team, which is one of the factors that impact the quality of work relationships. Mm-hmm. And I'll say what Daniel Goleman say, emotions are contagious. So when a person have different emotions in a team, this can spread into the entire team. And the team leader emotions are especially more impactful to the team because they are in a position of authority. And not only the leader influence, team members also influence the group in general, but the team leader has a more impact, and he has more authority also to manage this aspect of the team. How can a team leader become more aware of their own emotions and how they can control those emotions that may negatively affect the team, because they are positive and negative emotions? There could be other types, but let's go with this classification and discuss about the negative effects of emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that I often say is leaders don't necessarily understand the shadow that they cast, which is how it impacts other people, how they show up. We are not immune to having a bad day and it not impacting other people. And so one of the things that I think you are getting to with this particular question is understanding emotional intelligence and how we show up, right? And so what is fascinating to me when I started doing this work is we rarely know all of the emotions that we actually have, right? We know when we're happy, we know when we're sad, we know when we're frustrated sometimes, when we're, joyful. But there's so many more levels to that. And so one of the things that I ask leaders to do is to take note of your emotions just on a regular day. Keep a journal, keep, just tabs on what it is you're feeling. What was it that led to that feeling? Right. So do you have anxiety because you have to now drive into the office, or there's a big project that's coming up? So first, let's check in with what emotion we're actually dealing with. And I think once you slow down and realize, okay, you know what, right now I'm a little off. I'm agitated, right? You're now more conscious of what you are actually feeling. And you can slow down to say, okay, if I'm agitated, this might not be the best time for me to have a meeting with this person that I know what the conversation is going to be, is going to agitate me even more. Right. So it's, hey, do you mind if we reschedule our conversation? I want to make sure that I'm showing up 100% for you. Right. And kind of pivoting so that you aren't saying I'm agitated and I'm not going to lash out at you, but you are also regulating, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And I either want to, let's change or pivot the time of our conversation, or what do you need to do to regulate that emotion within yourself, right? So if you need to take a couple of moments to take a breath, if you need to step outside and get some fresh air, whatever it is, it's okay. If I have this negative emotion, what do I need to do to start to then regulate that so that it's not impacting others? And that takes time. That takes understanding yourself and doing that self-check. Whereas I think a lot of people emotion and react to that based on that emotion, which may or may not be in their best interest. So it really is taking that time to figure out and understand what you are feeling and what it is you need in that moment in order to help regulate, which may be time, which may be air, which may be something else, but really understanding what it is that you need in that moment.
In many organizations, teams work in the same space. So maybe we understand the other team members' emotions just looking at them. So we don't necessarily have to speak or get in a conversation with the other team members. We can just observe, and consciously or unconsciously, we can take those emotions on ourselves and feel ourselves nervous or agitated.
Yeah.
But
that's not necessarily what you want, right? You don't want someone, if the leader is agitated or frustrated and the team sees that, now they're operating in fear to some degree because they don't want to agitate that person. And you don't want to create that type of environment. So if you are part of the team and you're noticing that your leader is a little agitated, it may be, okay, maybe this isn't the best time for me to bring up this project that might add to their frustration. Or even asking, hey, I noticed that you seem a little agitated. Is there anything I can do to help?
Right. Bring into discussion the emotions. Maybe this will make the person more aware.
Absolutely. Because I think a lot of leaders feel they have to take on the burden of everything. When in fact, the team might have an answer, or they may be able to support in a way that you've been holding on to for yourself. So having good relationships with the team, I think, is critical in all of this. Because if a team can notice and see that you are not in the best space, they may or may not know how to respond to you. And so as the leader, it's up to you to kind of create that environment that even if you're not in the best place, it's not negatively impacting the team.
Yes. So as a leader, you serve as a model for others.
Absolutely.
when a team leader observes that other members, maybe one or two members, are not in their best state, maybe they are upset or angry, what should they do to? Should they intervene? Should they discuss with these team members, or they? Because sometimes they don't do nothing. They just observe and let things as they are. Is this a good thing or not?
So it really depends on the relationship. And I think that team leaders need to have great relationships with the people individually, and understand what each individual person needs, what each individual, what makes them tick. Because then when you notice that someone is not in a good headspace, they're having some negative emotions, you can authentically step in to say, hey, I've noticed that you're a little off today. You want to talk about it? Is there something, how can I support you? Is there something that I can do? And you can really come in because you're in partnership with that person, not necessarily just overseeing all of the work that they're doing. You care about that individual person. And I think that's one of the challenges that leaders have right now, is connecting to people on that individual level. Because once you have those types of relationships, you'll notice the one-offs when one or two people might be not in the best mind space, or you can step back and say, I noticed that it's the entire team. Maybe there's something going on with the team that I'm not aware of. And then you can bring that up at the team level. But if it's just one or two, have those one or two conversations. But then also check in with the folks that seem that they're like, everything is okay, because it may not be okay. They may be wearing a mask, right? And they're just like, yeah, everything's great. And they're falling apart inside. So it's having those individual relationships. Is also understanding how to see the themes that might be coming up. Understand, okay, this is what's happening here. This is how I need to show up for my team. And I'm a part of this team, and not just pushing them off to the side so that I can focus on something else.
So you mentioned that some members could have this mask. They may avoid to showing their true feelings or maybe opinions, because let's say some people may avoid saying what they really think in different situations, not to upset the other person, or not to um, mm, maybe they don't trust in the reaction of the other person. How can team leaders create an environment, a space where these team members feel safe to express and say what they think, and how you said earlier, what they, if they are feeling upset about a situation, about a team member, these things are important because all of them affect the employee performance and of course the business. But not we are not talking only from this perspective, but also from the perspective of employees well-being. We organizations are also, they are interested in ensuring good conditions for employees. So we are not just speaking about these topics from a performance perspective.
Yeah. So you're talking about psychological safety, right? How do you create an environment that's psychologically safe? And so for those that may not know what psychological safety is, it's the ability to be able to speak up, challenge the status quo without fear of harm or retribution. And so when you speak about trust, one of the first things that immediately comes to mind is trust is not automatic, right? It has to be earned over time. And how do you do that? It's when your actions and your words consistently are in alignment, right? So what I say is what I'm going to do. I follow up. I make sure that I am not sugarcoating things. I am saying and doing the same thing. There's alignment there. And it's consistent, right? It's not a one-time thing, and then you go back to saying something and then you do something else. It is consistent and it's over time. And so leaders need to understand that in order for their team members to trust them, they have to see that those actions and those words are always in alignment. So when there is a time where it's not, it's an anomaly and it's not the norm, right? So you can see, okay, this is something that's different than what I'm accustomed to seeing or experiencing. And so for team members, when I hear, their team members that may be wearing the mask or don't want to speak up, that immediately tells me that there's a lack of psychological safety within that team environment, or there's something that team doesn't necessarily trust with that leader. And it may be several things. It may be that the leader is new and they just haven't established themselves yet. It may be that the actions and words have not been in alignment. And so I'm not quite sure how to speak up or what will happen. It may be from experience, right? They may have witnessed someone speaking up and the leader yelling or intimidating that person. And so then the message to the rest of the team is don't speak up, right? Because that's going to happen to you. So leaders have to be, again, very, very aware of the shadow that they cast, and understanding that trust is one of those very fragile things that once it is broken, it takes extremely long time to repair. It does not take a lot to break trust. So understanding the importance of how do you build that trust with people? How do you follow, making sure you follow up, making sure, again, your actions and your words are in alignment consistently, and also making sure that you are showing a level of vulnerability as a leader, right? The other, I hear it often, my leader never makes mistakes. Every leader has made a mistake, right? And so leaders need to be vulnerable, show that, I've made mistakes as well too, but this is what I learned from that, right? So when a mistake happens within the team, as a leader, are you punishing people for making mistakes, or are you seeing it as an opportunity to learn and grow, right? So that we can all learn and grow together. One of the statements or questions that I ask when a mistake is made is, okay, now that we know, what will we change moving forward? Right. So it's a learning opportunity. Now that I know this is now what I need to do. Right. And then making sure that is what happens moving forward.
Yes, sure. And I think that also asking for feedback from employees could bring more awareness, because we don't necessarily know how others perceive us. And if we ask them, if we investigate why they are not telling us something, we can find the real reasons in a way. So
yeah, I mean, I do a psychological safety and inclusion assessment for my clients, and it's always fascinating to me, because with this assessment, you can see what's happening at the team level, but also at the leader level. And there's some leaders that feel like, oh, I'm doing everything great and perfect. And they get the results from the assessment and they realize, oh, it's a different environment as soon as I come into the picture. And so it leads to great conversations, but it also is an awareness that I think a lot of leaders don't have into, again, that shadow that they cast when they are part of the team.
And the bigger the difference between how leaders perceive themselves and how employees perceive them, the lower is trust and the lower is psychological safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
And open and transparent communication, because if communication would have been open, they would know how they are seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But again, it's that fear. And so how do you remove that fear within the workplace? Because that starts to eat at you, right? It physically and psychologically eats at you if you're operating in fear constantly at work, and that's not healthy.
I'm I think that leaders have full ownership of what is happening in a team, but I also think that employees have their own power and they can speak with all the consequences that come with this. They have to take the risk and the courage to give feedback and uh, express their perspectives. And I think that this also helped to shape how things to shape the relationships, because they have power also, not only the leader but also the employees can define those relationships in because we see this when a new employee comes, they establish new reports, new relationships. So it's not just one person, it's 2, 3, 4 in a team. There are many person.
Absolutely. One of the missed opportunities that I think a lot of leaders forego or just don't even think about is taking the time to understand what the team collectively needs for psychological safety, right? Because what I need may be very different than what you need. And so if you have that conversation within the team now better understands how they need to work with each other individually, how we show up, how we call each other out on certain things, so that we're all on the same page, so that when someone new comes in, we have that conversation again, because that person's just now coming in. We want to hear and understand, what it is that you need in order to be successful as a part of this team. And it may be having one-on-ones or making sure I'm checking in with everyone or getting feedback via in person versus email, right? So it's having all of those conversations, and the leader is a part of that. It's not fully up to the leader to create that psychological safety. And that's exactly what you said. The team is responsible as well. So I can't say, I don't feel psychologically safe, but I'm also not creating psychological safety for anyone else either. Right? We're all in this together, and we're all responsible.
A team is like an orchestra, and the team leader is the
conductor.
Conductor, right. Yes. So
exactly.
He's in a powerful position.
Very powerful position, but also, I'm gonna go with this analogy, but there are also orchestras where some of the musicians step in as the conductor. Sometimes
they can change the
roles and understand, because oftentimes the leader may miss out on some of the dynamics of the team that somebody else is picking up on. Right. So I always say that it's a collective effort. I love that orchestra analogy, because it is truly a team effort. And when one section is off, you can hear it, but it also impacts everything else. And so making sure that we're always in harmony.
Regarding bad attitudes and bad emotions, how can a team leader respond to a complaint or complaints that comes with this energy of negative or dissatisfaction from employees? Because if they answer with the same attitude, with the same emotions, nothing will resolve.
Yeah. I mean, so part of what you're talking about is de-escalation, right? How do you get people out of those emotions? And it's difficult, but I find that one of the first things that you can do is respond in a calm voice, right? So let's start there. We're not going to meet energy. If you're up here and I'm up here, nothing is going to happen. So, it's lowering the voice and understanding, okay, I understand that you're upset. Help me understand the key points. Like, how can I support you? What is the issue? What is the challenge? And really talking through to understand. And I think part of frustration oftentimes is I don't feel like anybody's hearing me. And so as the leader, how do you de-escalate, but then also get to the root of what the issue or challenge is, right? So help me understand, what is the issue? What is the challenge? Okay, this is the challenge. What is the barrier, or what is the support that you need to deal with this situation? How can I best support you? Right. So it's asking questions so that that person feels heard, really taking into consideration what they may or may not know, because that's often some of the frustration as well too. They may have a partial story or not have all of the information. So as the leader, it's okay. So I understand your frustration. Let me this is happening, right? So based on this, now let's look at this situation again. Right. So it's really stepping into a coach type mode to unpack what is happening, so that not only does that person feel heard, but they also feel like, okay, the leader is trying to help me solve my problem. And that's not to say that the problem can be solved immediately. It may not be able to be solved immediately, but at least they feel like they're connecting to someone that can help them get to some semblance of a result. We're not promising that it will be in their favor, but at least being able to come to some resolution. The other piece of that is following through. Now that I've heard you, now that I know and understand what the challenge is, let me see what I can do and find out for you. And then I'll come back to you with, this is what is needed, or this is the decision that was made, or we need some more time for X, Y, whatever it is, so that piece and that person feels like there's some level of closure, or at least I was heard and I wasn't dismissed.
Were you in such a situation in which a person or maybe a client of yours was in such a situation in which they had to deal with such a person?
Often.
Can you give an example?
Yeah. So one client in particular, they had a situation that happened internally with not just individuals, it was groups of individuals on opposite sides of a political social issue. And it just started to constantly escalate. At the time when it happened, leadership, and I'm saying leadership, the group of leaders, made a decision to create a policy, but not necessarily address the elephant in there, address kind of what the situation was. And it continued to escalate. So trust has been lost on all sides. So we're now almost 2-3 years later, still dealing with some of the rumblings from that initial situation. And so what we've done is, okay, it was addressed, but it wasn't addressed in the best way. So now what they're doing is they're bringing in some of the mid-level managers and frontline managers to, let's create, how are we going to deal with situations like this moving forward, right? How do we make sure we have all of the voices and concerns brought to us in a way that we can collectively come up with a resolution, so that it feels like we've been a part of this, versus leadership coming down and saying, this is the mandate, right? And so a big piece of that was, we learned from our mistake in responding the way that we did. We've now understood that we need to get all of the voices, not all individual voices, but kind of all of the levels at the table, so that we can discuss what is happening. And then we collectively are going to say, this is the resolution moving forward. And what that has done is it is provided a level of transparency in decision-making that they didn't necessarily have before. It has empowered some of the frontline managers to feel that their voices of their staff are actually being heard and not just dismissed. But it's also taking time. I mean, it's taking a lot of time to rebuild that trust in a way that is seen as authentic, and not just, we're just trying to push all of these issues away. Like, we've made a mistake. We know and we understand we've made a mistake. This is what we're going to do moving forward. We would love your feedback as we're doing so. And so I use that example because it was something that was very escalated, where it was very emotional, and it was not responded to in the most beneficial way, to acknowledging a mistake was made. And, again, moving forward, this is what we're going to do. And it's taken, like I said, 2-3 years, and, at this point to do that, but they've also been very intentional in making sure that the steps that they move forward with are the steps that they know will continue to move them toward rebuilding trust.
So it's very important to close the circle, and after you take the measure, to ask feedback.
Absolutely.
If that solution resolved the problem.
Absolutely. And again, it may not be a perfect solution. Not everybody may be happy, but they also don't feel like they weren't heard, right? You want to make sure that it was taken into consideration. It was part of the discussion. And so understanding that, I think, is a big piece of what I'm seeing, even in other organizations as well, too, is people want to feel that they're valued, seen, and heard. And so making sure that that is central in the process.
And they matter. What they want matter for the company is not just heard and left or given any solution just to have a solution.
Exactly. Exactly.
I have one last question.
Okay.
From your perspective, what types of behaviors and attitudes help team leaders create quality relationships with their team members?
So I spoke to authenticity. I think that is so important, and vulnerability. I think those two are often overlooked, because leaders feel, I have to be perfect. I have to showcase myself in this way. We're human. We make mistakes. And so speaking from a level of vulnerability, of authenticity, allows leaders to be very human with the folks that are on their teams. I think also having strong values, and they may or may not be in total alignment with the folks on the team, but if they're clear, people then understand where you're coming from, right? If your values are strong and you operate in those values consistently. I also think that, and this comes as part of the being human piece of it, but a level of levity, right? And of humor.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to laugh at ourselves, or just enjoy the moment. And I think when, people see that, when you can have a good time while you're working, it does not feel as if it is a burden. And I think it's important for leaders to show that, they're a human, right? They have that side to them. And that also can start, lead to teams feeling more connected as well.
And maybe a more relaxed atmosphere.
Absolutely. I mean, who wants to always be?
We can stay rigid.
I can't do it. But no, I mean, I think it again leads to, we're all human. And I think we're at a time now, with technology taking over and people fearing, AI and all of these things, and, feeling like the robots are about to take jobs. We have to lean into this human-centered leadership and understanding that we have emotions and feelings, and, we laugh and we cry. All of this makes us who we are. And so the more we can tap into that, I think the more leaders can really connect with their teams in ways that could not be challenged by technology.
Because you said that I had a last one question. I said that the previous one is the last, but some companies don't allow employees, or not necessarily that don't allow. It's not encouraged. By contrary, it's discouraged to show emotions. So if you see someone crying, you just put a label on that person, and it's not good for that employee.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it's not acceptable to yell or to manifest anger in inappropriate ways, but maybe if you if you cry a little, it's not acceptable in some companies.
Yeah. And again, it's, understanding the culture of the organization. If that's the type of organization that you're a part of, know and understand your escape, right? So if it's going to a quiet room or going to the bathroom to get those emotions out so that you can show up the way that you are expected to show up.
Yeah, expected. Yes.
Right. My gut reaction to that is that the type of environment that you want to be a part of? Right. Like that's kind of my initial thought. But if it is, understand, okay, this is the emotion that I'm feeling. Let me take a moment away so that I can honor that emotion that I'm feeling. Take a couple of breaths and come back in. And then say what you need to say. Right. I've had to do that. I was in a situation where somebody said something that angered me to the point of tears. And I walked away. I went to the bathroom. I got my frustration out. I came back, said what I needed to say, and we moved on, right? But I know that in that moment, if I had spoken while I was emotional, it would have been dismissed as, oh, it's just a woman, she's just emotional, versus, and I came back very direct, very clear. And it was actually a situation where it ended up getting escalated to HR. But you have to know the environment that you're a part of and how that environment perceives you. And unfortunately, women are perceived in a different way than men are in a lot of environments. And so knowing that is something you have to operate in, but use it to your advantage.
Thank you very much, Sacha, for your answer. And I'm sure that these are helpful insights and can help and guide team leaders, whether they are women or men. So
absolutely,
these are very helpful. And please tell us how can people find more about you and about your business?
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, www.theequityequationllc.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/IN/Sacha Thompson, or you could just look up Sacha Thompson and I'm all over Google and social media. So you could always find me there as well.
I'll put all the links in the show notes. Thank you very much, Sacha.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you found value in this podcast, subscribe to stay updated. I'm grateful for your support and hope to continue providing content that helps you grow. See you in the next episode.